So Avatar: The Last Airbender has many unexplained and unexplored characters and storylines. Many questions that don't get answered in The Last Airbender and never even get answered in The Legend of Korra. Questions like, did Zuko ever find his mother, or did Sokka ever actually get married? Now yes, some of these questions did get answered and explored within the comics and novels, but not everyone has the time to read all of them. So for those of us who can't read worth a shit or just have no time to do so, allow me to answer some of the most searched questions and comments that you guys have asked in my past videos. Questions like, is bone bending possible and does it exist in the Avatar universe? Well, this and so many more get answered within this video, so without wasting any more of your time, let's dive right into our first question. Is bone bending possible and does it exist in the world of Avatar? Well, going off of the science of bending and how Avatar's power system works throughout the series, yes, it is theoretically possible for Earthbenders to learn this bending ability, because bones are made up of multiple materials such as calcium. So just like how waterbenders are able to use the water within the blood to, well, blood bend, Earthbenders can theoretically use the calcium within someone's bones to bone bend. But as far as we know at this moment in time, it doesn't exist within the world of Avatar. But now let's move on to the next question. Is the Fire Nation a parallel to Japan? Or more specifically, the Meiji era Japan? Well, the simple answer to this question is yes and no. You see, to answer this question, we first have to realize that Avatar and its creators were greatly inspired by not only Japan and China, but multiple aspects of the Asian culture. And this is part of what makes Avatar so unique and amazing. You see, by using real-world elements and historical heritage, it adds an element of realism to Avatar that you just don't get with any other cartoon. Like using the Water Tribe as an example, its people, architecture, clothing, and culture are an obvious inspiration from real-world Inuits. They look, dress, and act incredibly similar. But does this fall under some conception of cultural appropriation? Well, no. You see, the creators are quite loose with their representation. And as long as they avoid being offensive towards the culture and its people, it can be seen as nothing more than just a minor inspiration. And this doesn't actually stop with just the Inuits and the Water Tribe, because the Earth Kingdom can be seen as a representation of China and the Air Nation as a representation of Tibet. So when we ask if the Fire Nation is a parallel to Japan, the answer would be yes, but only in representation alone. They are not direct copies or parallels of one another, just some inspiration that the creators found when looking at the culture. But now moving on to a question I've seen around for some time, in not only my own comment section, but also on the Reddit, Twitter, and a number of Avatar fan sites. It's the question, did Sokka ever marry Suki or anyone else in the series? And if so, did he have any kids with them? Now the reason for this even being a question is likely due to the limited explanation on what actually happens to Sokka post Last Airbender. Because throughout the Legend of Korra, we get no real explanation on the events of both Sokka's death or his life. It is widely believed that his death may have came by way of natural causes or by protecting Korra in her youth, but nothing has been officially confirmed as of yet. But trust me, there are theories on it everywhere. But as for his marital status, this is also uncertain. Many believe that the natural playboy remained single throughout his whole life. But we also can't say that with any degree of certainty. But now as far as his kids are concerned, there is a very popular fan theory on him potentially being the parent of one of the characters in Korra. But it is very loose and carries no real substance. But that being said, I may actually make a video on it in the future, so if you'd like to see that, then like this video down below and I'll get right on it. But now let's move on to our next question. Why didn't Katara use her bloodbending against Azula? Now this is actually a very popular question that has been going around since the conclusion of the series. And honestly, there are a number of things that can be said about it. Like you could say it was the lack of a full moon at her disposal that was the reason why she didn't use it. But thanks to the Legend of Korra, we now know that it is technically possible to bloodbend even without a full moon, if you are strong enough. Which in my opinion, I do think Katara was strong enough to bloodbend without the use of a full moon. She just needed to know it was possible. But now one could also point out that while bloodbending is arguably one of, if not the absolute strongest bending ability in this series, it was still countered by Mako using lightning in Korra. Okay, maybe countered is too strong a word for that moment, but the point still stands that the likes of Mako with his shit lightning strike could stop a man's bloodbending even just briefly. So of course someone of Azula's power would most likely do the same, only far better, likely leading to her not only gaining the upper hand on Katara, but also killing her in the process. So you could say that her not using bloodbending is the only reason she was able to actually beat Azula. But now in my opinion, the ultimate answer to this question is much simpler than all of that. You see, Katara didn't use bloodbending when fighting Azula because she absolutely despises that ability. She wouldn't want to use that against anyone, including her worst enemy. Like, she hated it so much that she pushed for it to become the first and only ability in the series to be banned worldwide. Like, the couple of times that we did see her use it in the series, it made her sick to her stomach. So yeah, she didn't use bloodbending against Azula simply because she hates that ability. But now while we're on the topic, let's answer a question that I've seen floating around in my comment section about Aang and bloodbending. And that's, why didn't Aang ever actually learn it? Now first off, for anyone to use Bloodbending, you have to come to terms with the immoral side of that ability. You see, you are essentially taking complete willpower away from your target, making them into your puppet. It's not something that everyone has the heart to even attempt or do, and is most definitely something someone like Aang could never do. Like, he was willing to risk death just to show mercy to Ozai in that final fight. He has no edge to his character at all. He is simply just too nice. Oh, and there's also the added fact that Katara hated it, and he of course loved her. So he wouldn't want to do something that might end up making her hate him. Now next up, we have a question that at first appeared kind of weird and a little dumb to me. But the more I've seen and read it, the more I understand the confusion. It's the question, why did Sozin kill all airbenders and not just imprison some of them? Now at first, like me, you read this and think, well, he just wanted to ensure the death of the Avatar, right? And yes, you'd be right, but the more I think about it, I think what they are asking is, why not just imprison the air nomads that we know are far too old to be the Avatar? Why commit the mass genocide on an entire nation just to ensure the death of one? And the answer to this could be something as simple as he just wanted to rid the world of airbending altogether, simply so that he had one less element to worry about when taking over the world. But to me, I personally like to think that it was due to him being scared of the airbenders and their potential. Because you see, throughout the series we have seen that time and time again, when you imprison somebody, their bending evolves. And you end up getting a user with some of the most powerful sub-bending abilities ever seen. Like when the Fire Nation came and captured Hama. She developed the forbidden ability known as Bloodbending, an ability that of course became one of, if not the most powerful bending ability to ever exist. And of course much later, Boomy was captured and unable to bend using his body. He ended up developing an ability to bend using his face. And although it isn't confirmed, many believe this was how the original psychic benders learned to bend using their mind. They were likely imprisoned and restricted from using their body to bend, so all they had left at their disposal was the ability to develop their mind to the point that they could bend their element with ease. And then of course we have Sahir, one of the most mysterious characters to ever exist in Avatar. He learned the meaning of peace and freedom due to his time in prison, which resulted in him becoming the first airbender in the modern day to learn the ability of weightlessness and true freedom, which of course allowed him to evolve his airbending to the point that he could lift from the ground and fly away. So you see, what I am saying is that by taking away a bender's freedom, you are subsequently allowing them the potential to evolve and become stronger. But like I also said, the obvious and most likely reason was simply because he wanted to ensure both the death of the Avatar and the removal of airbending from the world. It is a very confusing question that I've seen around a lot, because it is very open to interpretation and not so well put together. But now with that, I think I'm done. If you have any other questions that you'd like me to answer, then put them down below in the comments, and who knows, you might appear in my next video. And also, while you're down there, why not give us a like and subscribe? It helps the channel out a lot and gets us ever closer to that 100k milestone. But with that, I'm out. Have a great rest of your day, and peace.